The Transcontinental Railroad united East and West and helped reunite the North and South through the Civil War. It also broke the transportation economic barrier for the United States. The Transcontinental Railroad helped make the United States an economic superpower. Richard Trevithick, born April 13th, 1771, Lowland, Cornwall, England, and died April 22nd, 1833, built the first successful steam engine in Great Britain. This made way for the railroad. The U.S. badly needed a new way of transportation ever since the 1800s. Even soon-to-be President Abraham Lincoln grew up on the frontier west of the Mississippi River. He knew how hard it was to travel all around on horseback. With Lewis and Clark's expedition in 1804, it was clear that a railroad could go from east to the west, so Abraham Lincoln signed the Pacific Railroad Act of 1862, which gathered America to build a transcontinental railroad. The question was, who's going to work on the railroad across the country? Around this time, gold was discovered in California, which brought millions of immigrants to the West Coast. The immigrants were in search of gold. Some struck it rich, and others were not so lucky. The German, Russian, Irish, English, Scottish, and Scandinavian immigrants had to find a job. Most of them heard about the Pacific Railroad Act and volunteered to be a railroad worker. The government established two companies, the Central Pacific Railroad Company, which started in California, and the Union Pacific Railroad Company, which started in Omaha, Nebraska. Now that the government knew who was going to work on the railroad, which route, though, would the workers work on? In the South, the people wanted the route that started in Mississippi because of the river. The people in Missouri wanted it in their state because the state was home to the Oregon Trail. And in the North, the people wanted the route to start in New York and in Chicago. After deciding, the people in D.C. chose the northern route for the railroad. But with the expedition of Lewis and Clark, the U.S. knew the railroad would have some challenges in the West, like the Nevada and California mountains and the Native Americans. The Nevada mountains were made out of solid granite and stone, so the Central Pacific Railroad Company had to carve, mine, or blow up over 32 miles of granite mountains, which killed many of the immigrants that worked for the company. The Indians were also a major problem in the west of the U.S. When the workers of the railroad company were laying down tracks, Indians would fight or ambush the workers. The reason why the Indians opposed the railroad, because in the process, the railroad destroyed food, buffalo, and their land. And their basic lifestyle and culture was forever changed. Many of the Indians were placed on reservations. In 1860, construction began for the railroad, but at the same time, tension between the North and South was building. Nobody wanted to be building a railroad in the middle of a civil war, so construction had to happen fast. Even the Central Pacific Railroad Company built 10 miles of track down in one day. If you were working on the railroad, you lived in something called the Hells on Wheels. These were portable houses on trains that were very small, unclean living quarters. On average, each company built 2 miles of track down each day. This was especially hard for the rough terrain. Most Civil War veterans worked on the railroad because they have already lived in rough conditions. On May 10, 1869, a golden spike was driven at Promontory, Utah. This was a celebration for the United States. Now the country could ship goods and services from east and west. In 3 years of completion, you could travel from New York to San Francisco in a week, when by cattle it would have taken over 6 months. Mail and shipping was cheaper than ever. The act of building the railroad was transformational with city growth. The first transcontinental railroad made America an economic superpower in the modern USA we know today.